I spent the apocalypse. Today, I'm going to show you how to tend a fire. Now, see me, I think everybody knows how to tend a fire, but it dawned on me it might be one of those things that people don't know. How do you keep a fire going? Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, a lot of times your damper will be up here in the pipe, but in this fancy schmancy double burner stove, the damper's actually here. So the first thing you're always going to do before you go to tend the stove, anytime you tend the stove, step one, open the damper. Otherwise, your lovely home will be filled with smoke.
There you go.
All right.
This is first thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. Okay, so at night you bank the stove, which I will show you at the end of this, because I'll bank the stove tonight. Okay, so in the morning, see how much coal, how much ash is in there? How much wood can I get in there? Not a lot. Ooh, why is there so much ash? Because we had a sudden, as many of you did, I'm sure, a sudden, unseasonably cold snap in the middle of fucking February.
Yeah.
That's why we're burning the crap out of wood. And I'll tell you what else sucks in a minute. So, the first thing you're going to do is, see that big ember there? You don't want to mess up your embers. You want to keep as many of your coals, your hot coals as you can, because they're still putting out heat. So what you want to do is you want to go in the front, and you want to dig down at the front first, because believe it or not, the front of the stove is where there's more ash and less coal. Okay, so you're going to dig there first and just get all that out of there. Okay, so once you get all the stuff out of the front, then you're going to scoop, you're going to go underneath, because most of the hot coals are on the top. Okay, so you're going to go underneath and go all the way to the back, and then kind of lift it up by shaking it. And that way, you get some of the coals, which I'll tell you why that's good. Okay, so you get some of the coals, but most of those are not super red hot right now, for one thing. And the other thing is, it's actually good to get the coals out. Because if you've ever heard people, farmers especially, people that are farming and homesteaders and stuff, talk about biochar, that's what that is. Those black chunks in amongst the ash, that's biochar. The ashes are potash, which is good for your garden. It is. Not nearly as good as biochar. So, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit of your wood and a little bit of your heat when you do this, but you're getting some really good fertilizer for your pastures and for your garden and stuff. So,
It's good for flower beds too and stuff like that.
Good for flower beds, good for your trees. I go out there and go around my trees and put a ring around my trees with ash, so it's got some good stuff. There you go. And like I said, you can see this morning, because I did have so much wood in it yesterday, I've got a lot of biochar. And once you put it in that bucket, and then take it and pour it wherever you want to pour it, which, you know, depending on what the conditions are, you have to wait. If you wait for it to cool in there, you actually get a little bit more biochar than when you dump it. Although it doesn't burn when you dump it, so there's that. Especially if you dump it on wet. Like right now it's been wet and cold. I can dump it basically anywhere in the yard. I don't have to worry about it causing a fire or... But that is another thing you have to worry about. It's like, that is a big bucket of hot ash. Don't put it out there where the wind can hit it and it can blow into your house. I had an ex-brother-in-law do that and burn down, you know, had to have the fire department came down. He damn near burnt down their house.
Yeah, notice she said ex-brother-in-law.
Yeah. Ex-brother-in-law.
Okay, so these are the buckets of wood.
Okay, so these are the buckets of wood, and you're like, well, you have to put little kindling in to get a fire going. It's like, no, if it's seasoned wood and you've got that much coals, you can put great big pieces of wood in it, actually, and it'll keep going. I don't normally have to put a match in this stove. In fact, I don't have to. I sometimes do it just because I put trash in on top of the wood and I want the trash to burn. You know, I don't have to use a match. I use one match a year to start the stove. And then, now, in the beginning of the year, when you have to have it and then you don't, and
Yeah.
at the end of the year where you have to have it and you don't. But as long as you're having to heat every day, this is what you do. And every day you'll have a fire. Okay. So, depending on the stove type you have, let me put this last piece in. I don't have to do this for a while. And that is the most expensive firewood I've ever used, because that's part of that hackberry. I had to have the tree cutter come in.
Yeah.
I cut it up, but he had to get it out of the thing. Okay, so as you can see, it's already smoking,
Yep.
and in a minute, we'll have flame. Okay, now depending on the kind of stove you have, you either open a bottom, what is called a draft. Most of us, yes, that was very hot.
I imagine it was.
Don't do that, children.
Ow, ow.
Okay, okay, so you either open what's called a draft. Sometimes this draft will just be a little holes in the door of your stove or whatever. When you're first trying to get it started, you want to open the draft. Okay, in this particular stove, you're supposed to leave the door crack.
Look at that, it's taken off already.
Okay, and you can see it's already taken off. You leave the door open a crack until your fire gets started good. And, yeah, see, that's, look.
Yeah, that is burning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
don't have to use little pieces of kindling to get my fire started in the morning. So, there you go. Okay, so you leave it open for a minute. It's going to get going, and then I'll show you what you do next.
Okay, I'll cut it off.
All right, so when you're sure it's done, which it definitely is, see? You're sure you've got a fire. Then you're going to want to, in this case, you're going to want to close that. Now, in some stoves, like in this stove, I rarely close this down if I want it to get hot. In fact, the draft is how you make the stove hotter and colder when the damper's on. You do it with the draft. If I want it to get hotter, which I do not right now, I leave it all the way open. If I need it to bank a long time because I'm going to be gone, which never happens now in the apocalypse, but when you wanted to bank it to go away, you would push that in. This stove, I can actually keep a fire where I can come back and do what I just did and start a fire. 24 hours, it'll hold a fire. Okay, so what you're going to do then is you'll watch for it to keep going really good, and when it gets really going good, then you'll turn the damper down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not turning the damper down yet because my stove just started going.
Right.
But then you turn the damper down. Now, when I turn the damper down in this one, it has what's called, it's a reburner. There, in about here, there is a platform that covers right above the firebox to about here. This part's where the damper is. Okay? When you close this damper, it forces the air into a chamber. Into that chamber that the false top makes. Okay. In that false top, there's another shelf. It has a catalytic converter in it. It's a ceramic disc about this big that has honeycombs in it. Okay? The ceramic disc gets very hot when the stove is hot. You know, that's why you don't turn the damper down yet. When the stove gets hot, that ceramic disc gets very hot. You close the damper down in this stove almost completely. There's no holes in that damper. Now, a regular damper will have little holes in it because smoke always has to get out. But this one doesn't because it wants to force smoke into the chamber with that honeycomb. And so that honeycomb,
The superheated honeycomb.
then the smoke goes through that, it reburns it, all the ash particles, all the smoke particles, the smoke burns. It burns the smoke. So it makes it even more heat. Okay, and what winds up coming out the chimney looks like, I've said before, looks like we're electing a pope. So at some point today, when the stove's going and the damper's engaged, and Lynn's actually dressed, because right now she's running around in her negligee, because that's who she is. She's running around in her negligee right now. But she'll run out and get a picture of the smoke coming out the chimney so you can see what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I'll show you how I banked this evening.
Can you show us how you know that it's going well?
Well, you
The
can
fan.
see.
The fan.
Oh, how I know that it's hot enough? Okay, so this fan runs on heat. You may have seen them on Alaska shows, because that's where I saw it, and I said, get me one of those! It runs on heat. No battery, no electric. So, it circulates the air. But one of the nice little added things about having it is that I know when to turn the damper down, that the stove is hot enough, and I can turn the damper down when the blades start going. Until the blades start going, the stove's not hot enough to turn the damper down. So that's a nice little added extra. So you might notice today, oh, it's going to be Selena bitching about things. Would you like to sit down?
Of course.
In your negligee? I'll try not to look up your skirt. That's a lie. I'll be looking up your skirt. There. Okay. So you might notice that today I don't have paint all over my clothes or ginormous holes. And in fact, I'm wearing fairly new clothes.
You must be going to town.
So this is because I have to take my mother to get her first COVID shot. I'm excited for her to have her first COVID shot. I'm looking forward to the time that we can all have our COVID shot. So why am I not deliriously happy? Because we found out that our drugstore, the drugstore where we had to sign her in to get her shot, and where we're signed in to get our shot, they're giving the shots at the Baptist Church in Alma. Well, a lot of you are going, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? Because I'm Jewish and I'm gay. That's why it's a problem.
And it's Alma.
Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem? Because the Baptists have never stopped going to church. They're in that building twice a week. Do I believe that they're bringing a cleaning crew in? No, because they all voted for Trump. So I have to go down there and I have to be very careful to hide who I am and what I am. It's one of the reasons I went ahead and wore camouflage, because I thought maybe they'll think I'm one of them and they won't string me up.
Blend in.
Maybe they won't string me up. This is America. I shouldn't have to worry about that. When they called, Lynn answered the phone, so they were like, well, your sister's older than you, so she'll get a vaccination before you do, but we'll put both of you on the list. But you won't come up until, yes, I won't come up for months yet. So I have to go down there and pretend to be somebody I'm not, and make sure that they don't know who I am or what I am, so that I can get a goddamn vaccination in a red state. It's very disheartening. At a time when we're already isolated by COVID, I feel even more isolated because of where I live. And I don't think they should be using churches to vote in or to give these vaccinations in. There's plenty of other spaces they could use. Spaces that they could make sure we're clean. Because I have an embroidered picture of these people who all ran out as fast as they could and voted for Trump, and who've never worn a mask this entire time, and have been in church this entire time, a church full of people. I have an embroidered picture of them cleaning that space the way it's supposed to be cleaned. or in making sure that people stay socially distanced while we're in there, or anything else. So I have to go someplace that I'm uncomfortable being, hope that nobody decides to come after me while I'm there, and risk getting COVID to get a shot.
For
This
your
is the-
mother, not even for you.
Yeah, a shot for my mother, who's 81 years old and should have had her shot at least a month ago. She just now got her shot, just came up. We put her on the list as soon as they said, put your people on a list. She's just now getting it. We have to do. So it turns what could be a joyous occasion into wringing your hands, and I've been up all night. Because I don't want to run into the lion's den. I don't. I don't expect that God is going to protect me. And I don't know how crazy these people are. Lynn had to drive a few months ago, right after the election. Lynn had to drive through a fucking wall of these people when she went to Walmart. They were in the streets with their flags. You know, the flags they used to kill people at the Capitol and bust windows in. I don't know who I can trust. And you know what, people? Neither do you. What a horrible time. But we just keep going. Because what choice do we have? I will see you tonight when I bank this stove. Hopefully, I will see you tonight. And hopefully I'll be telling you happy, fun stuff. That it was clean and it was joyous and I wasn't afraid, and there you go.
Okay. See you in a bit.
Okay, so you can see the fan is going. Okay, which is good. It's taking all the air, it's pushing it all over the room. Very nice, didn't cost any money. This stove came with a blower. It only lasted about 8 years and died. And it used to blow out these pipes, which was very cool. But actually changing that blower out, that's one of those things I probably should do. But I don't want to.
No, talk about a mess.
And I
Yeah.
like this. So there you go.
And it's very efficient
Okay,
and
so
quiet.
now we're going to turn the damper down. And when we turn the damper down, we're going to go all the way closed, and then I'm going to take it back just a click. So now that little door is only open about this much.
Yeah, about a quarter of an inch.
Now, if it was as tight it was when I first got it, and all of the seals were super tight on the door and around the pipe, I could close it all the way. But now I've had to redo those seals. They're not factory anymore. And now I can't turn it down all the way. But it's only open about that much.
Yeah.
So,
It's doing great.
and it's like you can see, it's just making,
And it's still red in there.
oh yeah. Oh, if I open it again, it'll start flaming.
It'll flame up.
again.
And we don't want it to do that because we want it to
Well,
put
I
out
wanted
heat.
to put out heat. I don't want it to all go up the chimney.
Right. Right.
You know, that's the thing. You don't want if your stove, if you keep that back thing door, oh yeah, your fire will be big and bright and pretty all day. Yeah, and all your heat's going right up the chimney.
Right.
So you're just wasting wood. And right now, we're supposed to get, we were 20 last night. We're supposed to hit the teens. We're supposed to be in negative.
Negative
by Monday. And then have a shitty week all next week. So it's a good thing I have all that expensive firewood.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. See you later. I don't know if you can see. The fire is roaring inside. And there's hardly any smoke. And what little smoke there is just as white as it can be.
Okay, so we went to the Baptist church and Mother got her first shot. It was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. But yes, there were people not really wearing their masks the way they're supposed to, not doing what they were supposed to, huge Jesus posters. What could I say? Was fairly well run. I got out of there. Nazis didn't hang me. I was happy.
You just opened the damper.
Okay, so the first thing you do Just like I said, anytime you're going to open the door, open the damper
Right.
first. When you don't, you know you don't, because there'll be a huge plume of smoke that will come out.
Of the door when you open it.
Come out
Yeah.
of the door.
Your house
and
will be
your
smoky.
entire house will be full of smoke. Now, it's been running all day. And it's super cold here.
Yes.
So, you know, that lovely polar vortex, which I'm sure so many of you got to enjoy. Okay, so I've got to stir it all up.
Beautiful
What I'm going
bed
to
of
do,
coals.
and I'll move that over there.
It's an
Okay.
amazing. That's all coals. That's just
all hot
amazing.
coals. But what you're looking to do is you're looking to make a fire that's going to last all night. You don't want to have to get up and feed the stove in the middle of the night. First off, it doesn't really work that good when you did, because you really need to, as I said, you saw me this morning. You have to watch it for a few minutes, make sure everything's, before you can shut it down. Okay, so what you're really usually looking for, the biggest log you can get in there with what's already in there, which is that one. Okay, but you see there's space there?
Uh-huh.
So I kind of want to fill up, always, you want to fill up that space, which as much as you can get in there, because like I said, once again, you're trying to get it to last all freaking night. That won't fit in there, but this one will. I think. Okay.
No, that's crazy.
So we got the great big one, we got the little one, we got all the coals, we got all that. Okay. It's easy now. Just close that sucker up. Now, it's going to be super cold. So I want it to burn that wood. Okay? If I was going to be gone a long time, or if I didn't think we needed it to be as hot, I would use the draft. And
Right.
I would push the draft in. In fact, if you watch this stove, and I don't have the damper off, but let's see if I push the draft all the way in.
It dims a little
You
bit.
can see.
Yeah, it dims a little
And
bit.
if I could shut the damper down with that draft all the way in, I can actually almost stop this stove.
Yeah.
Okay, but we need it to be super hot. It is currently dripping into the teens outside with a wind. So it's going to be a cold night. So I'm going to leave that draft open. There's your obligatory ass shot.
Yes, yay.
And then you just close the damper up just like you did before. And that, because it's banked, it should last all night.
That's awesome.
Until next time, stay warm.
Yeah. No.